When we think about cybersecurity, our first instinct is always to build walls, right? These really strong defenses to keep the bad guys out. But what if I told you that even the strongest walls, they're going to get breached eventually? So today, we're going to talk about what happens next. We're diving into the vital world of network security monitoring. I want you to imagine you've built the perfect digital fortress, okay? The firewalls are these massive, impenetrable gates. All your data is scrambled with powerful encryption, kind of like secret-coded messages. And every single door is locked down with a super complex password. You should feel totally safe, shouldn't you? I mean, with defenses like these, the common thinking is that you're totally protected. Your data's locked down, your systems are fortified, and there's just no way anyone can possibly get in. But is that really the case? Well, here's the hard truth. It doesn't matter how high you build those walls, breaches still happen. Attackers are clever, defenses always have little flaws, and eventually that fortress is going to get compromised. It's really not a matter of if, but when. And this is exactly where the strategy has to shift. We have to start looking beyond just building higher walls, because a purely defensive approach, well, it's ultimately destined to fail. So it's time we talk about monitoring. So why do these defenses fail? Well, for one, sophisticated attacks can just find a way around them. They can bypass your controls. Second, not all threats come from the outside. Sometimes the danger is already inside your own network. We call those insider threats. And finally, you've got zero-day attacks. These are brand new threats that no one has built a defense for yet. I mean, how can you possibly block an attack you don't even know exists? Okay, so if you can't guarantee you'll keep everyone out, what's the plan B? You watch for them. And that is the entire concept behind what we call network security monitoring, or NSM. It's all about building a digital watchtower. Right. And NSM isn't some single thing you just buy off a shelf. Nope. It's a whole process, a cycle that's always running. It's a loop. You're constantly observing what's happening on your network, then you're analyzing all that activity for anything weird, you detect potential threats, and then, and this is the most important part, you respond to them. And this loop just keeps on going 24/7. If you had to boil this whole thing down to just one sentence, this would be it. It's really all about that constant vigilance, It's about watching the network all the time so you can catch attacks early, long before they can do any real damage. And why is catching things early so important? Well, the data on this is super clear. The sooner you catch an attack, the less damage it causes. You can dramatically reduce your system downtime and prevent the kind of massive financial losses that come from a major breach. I mean, it makes an enormous difference. Okay, so how does all this monitoring actually work in practice? Well, it all starts with data, with finding clues. And the most fundamental source for all these clues is your system logs. This is where we get into the real detective work of cybersecurity. So what even are logs? Think of them as just these automatic records of literally everything that happens on your network. Every single login, every file that gets accessed, every system error, it all gets written down. It's like having security cameras running in every single digital hallway, 24/7. And you wouldn't believe the level of detail these things capture. They record every digital footprint, every login, both successful and failed, who accessed what file, and exactly when. All the network connections going out to the internet, even what your apps are up to. It's a complete treasure trove of information, if you know how to read it. And that right there is why logs are so critical. When something does go wrong, they become your evidence. Investigators can use them to go back in time and piece together exactly what an attacker did step by painful step. Without them, you're basically flying blind. Okay, but let's be real. Sifting through millions of these log entries by hand, that's just impossible. That's why we need automated systems to watch our network traffic in real time. And this brings us to two key tools with a really important distinction. One is basically an alarm, and the other is more like a trap. First up, we have the Intrusion Detection System, or IDS. Okay, so think of this as your silent alarm. It sits on the network just watching traffic go by. And if it sees something that looks like a known attack, it raises a flag and sends out an alert. But here's the key. That's all it does. It detects and it alerts. It doesn't actually stop the attack itself. And then you've got the Intrusion Prevention System, or IPS. This one's the automated trap. Just like an IDS, it also detects attacks, but because it sits right in the path of the traffic, it can actually take action. It doesn't just send an alert, it slams the door shut, blocking that malicious traffic before it can ever reach its target. All right, so let's put it side by side to make this crystal clear. On one hand, you have the IDS, the alarm. It's totally passive. It just watches and yells, hey, there's a problem. On the other hand, you've got the IPS, the trap. This thing is active. It sees the problem and bam, it slams the door shut. Both are incredibly useful, but they do very different jobs. So how do all these different pieces actually fit together? Well, the key thing to remember is that it's not about choosing one over the other. Real effective security comes from layering these different tools to create something we call security in depth. Let's just put it all together in a quick summary. Your logs, they're the security cameras, recording everything so you can investigate later. Your IDS, that's your silent alarm, just letting you know there's trouble. And your IPS, that's the automated trap, actively stopping threats in their tracks. When you put all of these together, you get this really powerful, multi-layered watchtower. And this really brings us to the biggest takeaway of all. True security isn't some static wall that you build once and then just forget about. No, it's a living, breathing, dynamic process of constant observation, quick detection, and smart response. It's about having a watchtower, not just a fortress. So, I want to leave you with one final thought. In a world where there's constant digital monitoring all around us, it's really worth asking, when it comes to your own digital security, is the right kind of monitoring in place? You have to ask yourself, who or what is in your watchtower?